What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL Live. Joined as always by my two co-hosts, Jonathan Holder and Toby D. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Another win, two in a row. Let's
Well,
go.
a win is a win is a win. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully enough in the NFL, we don't have to worry about style points like they do over there, and extremely important.
Yeah,
Yes.
You know,
yeah,
in conditions where you don't have like 1 second. Give me your thoughts. Somebody's hollering at me.
yeah. So I'll say this because I was thinking about this on the way here. For some reason, when we go out there at MetLife Stadium and play them Jets, it's always raining. But on the bright side of that, we seem to come out winning those games, and they be low scoring too as well. Because I remember one time we went up with Dan Quinn up there. It was raining. We ended up winning that game.
Yeah.
And then twice now we've gone over Arthur Smith. It was raining. We ended up winning both of those games. In 21, Kyle Pitts first touchdown, and then of course this year. So I don't know what it is, but the rain just likes us when we get up there.
I mean, sometimes you got to win ugly games. You got
Yeah,
you got to be able to win the games where whether it's your defense for whatever reason isn't playing well that day, and your offense has got to outscore the other team. That but the on which is what that's the normal ugly game for the Falcons, right?
yeah,
The normal ugly game for the Falcons is defense is crap in the bed, and the offense has to keep up and has to win a shootout. That's the
yeah,
normal ugly win for a Falcons team. This Falcons team, it was an ugly win, but it was the exact opposite. And I don't necessarily think it was the offense crap in the bed in this particular scenario. Like a lot of people want to say, oh, the Jets stink, the Jets are this, Jets are that. That Jets defense is legit. I don't
yeah,
care. I don't care what their team record is. That defense is absolutely a legit defense. So you're in their home on their really not good field in really bad weather, and you figure out a way to not screw up where their offense did,
yeah,
and you took advantage of their screw ups. We didn't make the absolute most of our opportunities. We could have gotten 2 touchdowns off those 2 turnovers, but
yep.
we scored. I think we scored points on both of those turnovers.
We did.
So we took advantage, of their mistakes, and we didn't. We had the one mistake that was called back because of a penalty, but I don't even, that was a receiver error in my opinion, not necessarily a QB error, but as far as Ritter goes, man, I liked the fact that he, maybe he did, maybe he didn't, whatever. But recognize this is a game that ball security is a premium, and you value that above just about anything else for this game. And so we didn't have any giveaways.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I stepped away, did any of y'all hit the intro thing?
No,
I don't want to do it
we were
again
bad.
if somebody did it. That's
No,
fine.
we didn't. We jumped right on into it.
That's fine. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to hit the intro. Then we'll come back and do it again. All right.
I lied. That was the second time it happened.
Son of a gun.
I'm just
People are just going to have to watch it twice.
No,
Apparently there was some issues with the stream was freezing. I'm not exactly sure. There was nothing showing on my end. But I have ultimate, I say ultimate. I have my quality control in the other room, and she hollered at me that the stream had froze, and I was trying to figure out what's going on. But by the time I got up, it looked like everything fixed, finally fixed itself. Oh, the talented Mr. Ripley. He says, "Oh snap! I finally caught y'all live. What's up, good pound for pound people? What's going on, man?
What's up, fam?
You decided to catch us live.
Glad you could join us.
That's right. That's right." Tony Wright says, "What's popping? It's y'all. Y'all are popping.
It's my back. I'm getting old.
Your back's popping? Dude, man, I did something to my back earlier. Never mind. I ain't even gonna get into it. But lower back. But so yeah, MSS. Hi, Jamie. All right. So yeah, it was an ugly win, but I would, as we have said many times before, I would much rather talk about, problems or whatnot with a win than with a loss.
Yeah.
I went back and watched the game again, and with the type of game plan that you had, I think it's turned into a narrative that is like, oh, it's just bad play calling. I'm not picking on Nick, but he says, Fallers, like play calling. There's a time there's a point in time where things just become an easy answer or an easy scapegoat.
Yeah.
And like I watched it again last night, or not last night, but before we got going, because I just wanted to really look at some stuff. Like there were good decisions made. There were good play calls called. If Drake comes down with one or two, or if Kyle comes down with one or two, we're talking about a little bit different of a game. Like you could call that pass interference in the end zone on Janu Smith right before the half.
Yeah.
But Janu, like say he brings that in, that's 2 touchdowns thrown. That would, to my recollection, that would be one of the first times Ritter has actually thrown 2 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
It might be the first, or
I know he's ran one and thrown one. He's been for multiple touchdowns, but I don't know if he's ever thrown 2. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that it was perfect, because it wasn't. There was a good chunk of overthrows and some bad misses. But I think all in all, Ritter made good decisions with where to go to the ball, a lot of check downs. And, oddly enough, for early in the season or early on, you had like all the, oh, he's going to be an intermediate king. Well, they took a lot of deep shots. They didn't connect, but they're taking them. So,
though, yesterday was probably the worst time or not yesterday, but Sunday was probably the worst time for them to be like, we're going to throw it deep. And it's like,
and if that's what you want to consider to be bad play calling,
no,
okay, fine, whatever.
I don't consider that bad play calling. I love the fact that you're taking deep shots, because it makes a defense have to worry about it, whether you hit them or not. The more you do them, the more they have to consider that you might do it, and you can't just not think about it.
I would say that, Scotty Miller hasn't necessarily turned into that deep threat that we were hoping he was going to.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely could use a more consistent deep threat. Right now your only 2 consistent passing threats are Drake London and Kyle Pitts, but we could definitely use another one, another like deep threat or a consistent deep threat. But I was trying to wait to see if Willie Doc was going to pop up, because I knew as soon as I started he was going to pop up, but he hadn't, so no big deal. So let's go ahead and get into our Ballers and Fallers, everybody's favorite segment. I need some kind of like theme music for.
Yeah, we might have to find us some
No. So anyway, Ballers and Fallers for week 13. I think this week was Bud Dupree.
Yeah.
He has been real close to getting some sacks. Did it? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, he's been like real close to putting some multiple sack games together, things like that. But he finally got it. He finally got himself 2 sacks. He's been very active. He's starting to come on as of late. I don't know if they're just scheming a little different because Grady's out now, but the pass rush itself is actually starting to come alive a bit. I think we had 4 sacks in this game.
4 sacks, yeah.
Should have been 5. That last one, that the very last defensive play before the victory formation, that should have been a sack. They ruled it an incomplete pass, though.
Right, but I think this is the first time since 2018 the team has recorded 30 sacks. I think I saw that. I'd have to double check, because then I thought I saw somewhere else that they had 28. So I guess it probably depends on what site you're looking at.
Well, I know that through 12 games now, they have equaled or passed up how many I think QB hits and hurries that they've gotten for the year for all of last year. So we still got another 5 games left to add on to that total. So yeah, this defense, we're probably going to look at, I'm going to say 36, 37, 38. If they really go on a tear, we could maybe eclipse 40, but I think in the upper 30s is what I'm looking forward to as far as sacks go by the end of the season.
So let me say this, because I remember during that Texan game, one of the things I said, the defense up front, once they get that chemistry together and everybody's in sync, they're going to start rolling in the sacks. And now look what they're doing. The sacks are coming in droves right now. And that was something that was important. And even Arthur Smith echoed it during his presser, that they're in sync now. And that's what we were waiting on. And you're starting to see that manifest itself. And so it's about time this is happening. And I mean, look, man, we got to give Terry Fontenot and Kyle Smith. I'm going to go ahead and say it, because the acquisitions that they made via free agency or the draft are starting to show itself. And Ebiketie is starting to come on this year. Yep. And so I'm very excited about seeing that, the second-year player doing this thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Ebiketie, I think, is either leading or tied for the league, or not league, team lead with 6 sacks. So he's looking like he can easily be an 8 to 10 sack guy, as far as like a solid.
Well, he hasn't gotten nearly the amount of reps as like the Bud Dupree's and what have you of the like he's basically come in towards the end of the game as fresh legs, especially in situations where we're up and the other team needs to pass. He tends to get in those situations where he can just pin his ears back and not
right. He's that designated pass rusher that that some of these DCs are fond of using. He definitely comes in on like passing downs. They're getting. I'm enjoying seeing the progression of Zach Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, he's not getting sacks or anything like that, but he's being that big body defensive end. He's really like setting an edge real well, getting some good push, especially as they get down there close to the red zone, they're making it real hard. And Contavious Street has been a nice addition, stepping in for the aforementioned like injured Grady Jarrett. So that's something that another Fontenot pickup that has been well worth it. The 5th round pick. It's so funny because every time I'm like, who the heck is that 75? Oh yeah,
that's Street, man.
Yeah. Well, so, I thought for some reason in my head it was I thought it was it's not Hutton.
Huggins.
Yeah,
I thought so
I
too.
thought that's who it was.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's Huggins. No, that's not Huggins. That's Street. Okay, and I was like, all right, cool. So, but this week's baller is Bud Dupree. I really have been enjoying him, him coming along, and if he can stay healthy, I think that the pairing of him and Lorenzo Carter have been a nice part of the rotation.
So Tony Wright brings this up. He says, agreed, Toby, but the team's still not letting Malone get in there, which would get even more sacks if Malone plays. The problem I have is you say that, but we don't know that, right?
Right. We assume
that would be the case, but I mean, if he was that of an immediate upgrade that would add to the pass rush, like we're saying that we think that it might, he would get out there, especially in late game situations like we saw where especially if all you're doing is just coming in to rush the passer and you can pin your ears back, you don't got to worry about anything else. That's the perfect situation for him to get in, and he's still not getting in. So
well, and before you go, oh well, that's because he's a second-year player or whatever. MJ has a good point here. DeMarco Hellams was a steal. DeMarco Hellams calls them to cut Jalen Hawkins.
Right.
Yeah.
They cut Jalen Hawkins because they were like, and the uptick of 3 safeties, which seems to be, something that Nielsen brought over from, well, it seemed to be like a connecting point with Nielsen and Jerry Gray.
Mm-hmm.
You know, both of them like that 3 safety look. And shoot, did you see like everybody's favorite punching bag on the defense right now, Richie Grant, splitting 2 blocks to get a strip sack? I mean,
yeah, like he was lined up over the center when he came into blitz and got through 2 guys and got that strip sack. And you know, he was making a lot of good plays. He was actually after Landman went out. He came in and played some linebacker in those 3 safety looks.
right.
So
Needless to say, yes, Helms was a steal, but to your point, to what you were saying about on Tony Wright's point, is if Malone was making those strides and showing it, I think that they would have gotten him on the field to this point, right?
That point. Pete Carroll philosophy: practice is everything.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't see you doing it in practice, then it's going to be hard for me to believe that you're going to turn it on when you get in the game. And Malone, if he's not turning it on in practice, he's not getting on the field.
That's it.
Point blank, period.
And you know, at this point, if that's the case, if he's not showing it in practice, but let's just say that he's a gamer, right? One of those guys that for whatever reason doesn't show out in practice, doesn't like draw the eye at practice, but then once he gets under the lights and he gets, you know, it's live bullets and all those things, for some reason he just turns it on and he becomes a monster on the field. He's not going to get that chance unless there's injuries that happen.
Right.
And you know, it's just, you know, if you want to be more active, you got to show that in practice. And
that's it.
If he's not showing it, you know, with the injuries that we've had along that defensive line, and in the linebacking core, you know, because he's been working with the linebackers, and we still show Andre Smith coming out instead of Malone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to our fallers, and he's a placeholder in a sense.
Did you want to do honorable mention or anything?
Oh, that's after fallers. Come on now.
Okay, I just making sure.
It's a new format. We didn't We're just trying to get used to it.
All right.
Who's driving this bus? Me or no? I'm just kidding. Anyway, faller. I got Drake London, and only not because I think he had a super bad game, but I think there was maybe a catch or two that he could have come down with, or I felt like in games past he did come down with. But I more or less use him as the offense as a whole. Yes, you did what you did just enough to win, but we're so late in the season that I need to start seeing more than just enough. Because my confidence as far as the offense goes, I'm not gaining any traction. The best I can say coming out of this game is y'all didn't make no mistakes. So good
well, job. So you know, and I came to you earlier, and I said that the follows for me was the offense as a whole, and I still agree that they should be there. You know, and whether you want to put up Drake London there as the mascot for that, that's fine. Either way, but I do disagree in that. I think they deserve to be there, but it's not it wasn't a game that when I rewatched it, when I watched it originally and when I rewatched it, that I was like, it just doesn't seem like they're in sync. You know, it wasn't the mess that we have seen earlier in the season. It's just the plays were just a smidge off. Just either it was a little too high of a throw, or a little too low, or a little behind, or something like that. And just things weren't quite there in sync. But I think a lot of that comes down to, again, I said it earlier, that's a really good defense. I mean that is a really good defense in really bad weather on a really bad field.
I will say this, I guess what I could have put, or maybe should have put, was like a rain cloud, as the faller.
No, I still think they could have overcome those things, right? They could have done some better things there, but I do think that some of the reason why that offense didn't put up a little bit more points. I would have been, if we didn't come out scoring just one more touchdown with 20 points, I'd have been like, that was a great day for the offense because that's a really good defense in a really bad weather situation, and you still put up 20 points. I'd be okay with that.
JR, I like how you use the words just enough. Because that's exactly what this offense has been all season. Just enough offense. Right. They do just enough to be able to win. And luckily for them, they have talent where they can do that. Okay. And because if they didn't have the talent, then they wouldn't be able to do just enough. But right now, Arthur Smith is able to find somebody who can at least get them enough points to score more than the opposition is scoring right now. So as long as they're able to do that and the defense can hold whatever the points is that they're scoring, then fine. 2 weeks in a row, no touchdowns allowed. I'll take it.
Yep. And kind of add to that a little bit. I think it's been since 1970 something since the last time the Falcons went a full season without scoring 30 points. And right now we're well on our way to having a non-30 point game. And that doesn't help. Okay, all this is like optics, right? You got a statement from our good buddy there, Hucklebuck, who just loves to bring nothing but sunshine and rainbows. He says, but this just kind of goes to my point. It's no confidence in Arthur Smith's ability to consistently call a competent offensive game plan, period. I don't agree, but the offensive output doesn't help the argument. Does that make sense? It's hard for me to stand here and go toe to toe with guys like Hucklebuck or guys like Jay Black who agree, with the narrative that Arthur Smith can't call a good offense when you consistently see, a sub 30 point output on a regular basis. So, I really hope that that's something they figure out a way to address because that they know this.
Oh, yeah.
And, part of me says, because especially if you watch a game like last night with the Jags and the Bengals. Obviously, Burrow's out. Jake Browning comes in and is throwing it all over the yard. And you're like, what's crap, But there's one thing that I've thought about, or, something they said. Browning's been in the league 5 years and been in this system for 3 years. So maybe part of it is not that they don't necessarily trust, Ritter, but in the middle of the season, they really tried to hand it to him and have him throw it all over the yard. And you saw the typical rookie mistakes added with fumbles. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was throwing 40 times for 300 something yards. He can do it.
Yeah.
But can we, can he do it consistently without the mistakes? Maybe they don't feel like he's there yet. Hey, we got to try to save our jobs. And I know we can run the ball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I guess the thing that I've, watching some different people that are looking at film and things like that. The biggest difference is you go to some place like Cincinnati, and you see Jake Browning doing that. The reason why he's able to do that, and the reason why a Brock Purdy in Shanahan's system is able to, Shanahan along with the other people in their system, what they're doing is they're not, while especially San Francisco absolutely has the horses to do the same kind of game planning that Arthur Smith does. What they end up doing is they do do stuff to scheme their guys open. Arthur Smith, when he's calling his offense, he's like, you need to, like Drake London, you're going to do this and you're going to beat your guy. Kyle Pitts, you're going to do this and you need to beat your guy. Everything out there is there's going to be a guy that you need to beat every single time. On occasion, he'll do stuff where he's trying to scheme guys open, but most of the time it seems like he's just telling guys, he's just setting it up so that guys have to go beat their guy, right? Whereas San Francisco, Cincinnati, some other teams out there, they're doing stuff like the pick plays and the rub routes and the
you're getting that stuff here It just doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look the same. I guess is the way I'm looking at it. Because
It's
go ahead,
it's
Toby.
not fluid. It's not fluid. There's no
Yeah.
fluidity to it. I mean, that's why I was saying, well, like what you said. I love that you said just enough offense, because that's what this offense has been. And right now, you just have to do this late in the season. You have to do whatever you got to do to win the game, and that's right now what we're doing. We're doing whatever we got to do, scrounging up pennies, dimes, nickels, anywhere we can find them, under the sofa, under the rugs, or whatever, to try to scrounge up enough offense to win games. That's who we are right now. We got the talent to do that. Most people don't even have the talent to even do that part. So we at least have the talent for that day. Like Robinson, man, his hands have finally come back. These last 2 games, buddy, he has been catching that ball like nobody's business. Bijan Robinson has. So that has been a highlight. This game, I mean, him and Ritter and Bijan Robinson was connecting pretty much the whole game.
No, yeah, very much. And I like to see. Okay, we'll get to it here in just a second. I want to, like what you're talking about there. Henderson says, "Great show, guys. Still need to get those 3 first-round picks more involved in the game plan." And these last few games, really starting in the Arizona game, you see them really starting to like feature, like run the offense through Robinson. Like this game alone, if you look at the targets were Pitts, London, and Robinson. Like that was your offense. And so they just didn't connect as much with London. Like I said, if London grabs 1 or 2 of those passes, we're talking about it like the offense looks a lot different. Fred Butts with another $2. We appreciate
it.
Thank you, Mr. Butts.
He says Kyle Pitts has to stop quitting on the deep balls. I don't know if he's necessarily quitting, because I really feel like with the coach that we have, if he was quitting, he wouldn't be out there. If they felt like he was quitting, I still think that he's trying to come back on that leg. Like that is time and time again, you see that, somebody who has a lower leg injury, their first year back tends to take, it tends to take the next season before they are fully back.
I don't think we're going to see anything close to the rookie Kyle Pitts till probably next year.
Probably. Chris says, Mama always told me if I had nothing nice to say, don't say nothing. But I wanted to say hi. Well, hi, Chris. We appreciate
Chris.
So, but what I would like for them to do, and it's something that I've been thinking about it. Like, you make the playoffs, even if you get blown out. I highly doubt. Like, I'm pretty sure this coaching staff gets 24. Like if you win the South and make the playoffs. So, with that being said, it's like, okay, what do we need to do going into next season? And I'm gonna make this one statement, then we're gonna roll into honorable mentions, and then we'll hit our other topics. I really hope they bring in another offensive mind. There was like, bring in a real play caller. That's not what I want another voice at the table. I think that's what they're missing this year. I really feel like the combining QB coach and OC and Dave Ragone has taken a voice away. And I think that Arthur Smith strikes me as a collaborative type, coach. And so I really hope that, he brings in a guy, especially if they decide to go out and get a young QB in the draft or whatever, because that's going to be the debate unless Ritter goes off or whatever, because that's going to be the debate all off season. But if they go out, I really hope that they bring in, a guy. So, all right, on to honorable mentions. Dun, dun, dun. Honorable mentions. We got 2 guys. One, Kyle Pitts, because him and Ritter were making some good connections in this game. Like he went to Kyle more often and in crucial spots, things like that. And then Clark Phillips, the third, when he came in, when AJ went down with a concussion, he came in and played admirably. I mean, yes, you're playing against Tim Boyle and then Trevor Siemian, but he could still been, the target, and he played well in that dude, in that spot.
Yeah, he did. He because I guess because everybody was thinking like he was going to be the slot guy, but he came in as Terrell's replacement, and you know he made some made some mistakes, but that's fine. But overall, like he played really really well. Stuck his nose in on the run game. Just he looked. I was super happy with how he looked in this game.
Yeah. He's like he got some not starts, but like spot play earlier in the season. Kind of looked a little overwhelmed. He is progressed nicely. Probably going to have to, depending on AJ, probably going to have to play against Tampa Bay this week. So with that being said, he should have hopefully he continues to make it.
Yeah.
I had this guy as a first round pick coming out of this draft. I mean, the fact that the Falcons got him in the 4th round was a major steal. If this guy was a little bit taller and he had a little bit more weight on him, he's a first round pick all day long. I watched this guy play corners. I love to watch when I'm watching film, and this guy stood out as one of my top 5 in this draft coming out. It's just because of his size, his height, what's played against him. But if he had all of that, guys, we don't get him in the 4th round the way that we did.
Oh no,
so
no,
yeah.
But my hesitancy a little bit this coming weekend is him going, and I think he's looked really really good, but him going against a guy like Mike Evans, that kind of big receiver, I am a little worried. Now he may come out and show me what's for. I would say don't matter. The guy's 2 foot taller than me, and I still covered him, and I will be happy about that. Full of Brent Grimes on him.
But still, like either whether it's Mike Evans or Godwin, in the slot or what have you, but I think the mixture of him with D. Alford and Jeff Okudah, there wasn't much of a drop off.
Maybe Okudah.
Oh,
yeah, he got injured. He got hurt. I think he hurt his ankle or something like that. Like the next to last.
I must have missed that
play of the game.
Somebody was asking about Onyemata. The only one that looked like that coach sounded like he was concerned about was AJ. Now Caleb McGarry went down and Storm Norton came in and Nate Landman went down, but neither one of those sounded like it was a long-term deal. You might be without those guys next week, depending. But Storm Norton did okay in the place of Caleb McGarry, and then Andre Smith stepped in pretty well for Nate Landman. I really hope Landman can go because he's been he's been such a revelation in a sense, like from last year going undrafted and to being like stepping in for Troy Anderson and not even missing a beat. So let's see here. I'm trying to see. Okay. Bradley says, I see a ton of success when we motion Pitts. I feel like he could be used to crack back the DN on the outside schemes to free up Bajan. Yeah, but I don't think you want to ask him to be doing that too much. Like every now and again, sure, you want him on more of those like leak out plays, when you got Ritter on the move and stuff like that. Let's see, our good buddies out of your Falcon Mind is in the chat.
What's going on, guys?
Man? Like short, quick announcement. It's kind of quickly come together, not to the point where I haven't had a chance to talk to you two. So y'all can get to act surprised if you want. The Panthers game looks like our good buddy Damsky from Canada will be in town.
What?
And so we're trying to put a get together down at Murphy's near the Galleria to watch the Panthers game. So guys like Out of Your Falcon Mind, Big Low Country, One Time for the Fans. I think Smitty Sports Machine might be there as well. Mm-hmm. And then some of us might be able to make it. But that's loose. So just keep your eye on Twitter as that information starts coming out more concrete. But that will be for the Panthers Panthers game on the 17th. That's the 17th of December.
Okay.
So that's that game, and they'll be away. So we'll be at the Panthers.
So not this weekend, next weekend.
Right, not this weekend, next weekend. Yep.
Now, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I mean, man, that's cool, man, that he'll be in town. I may not be here to make it, but man, that's be cool. Everybody, we can represent from pound to pound and be
That's
out
right.
there to be hanging out with them.
Mhm.
I do, however, I don't want to get too far away from the AJ Terrell situation because I'm starting to get very concerned about the amount of concussions he's been gathering since he's been in the NFL with the Atlanta Falcons. You go back throughout his history since being here, he's starting to rack them up a little bit. And it's kind of swept under the rug because people are not really paying attention to that, but I am. And that stuff keeps piling up. It's like normally he has been technique sound when he's been tackling these running backs. And for some reason with Bryce Hall this time around, it's like he just froze in motion. It's almost like he was already out of it before he even got hit by Bryce Hall. And that was kind of scary to me. And guys, we want to pay this man a lot of money, okay, in the very near future. But we got to figure out about these concussions. I don't know how many he's had. Maybe y'all can go and look it up and see. But I think he's had at least 3 that I know of since he's been in the NFL, and maybe 4.
And I do know. Yeah, I do know that once you get one, it's easier to get. Easier to get them going forward.
Well, I mean, I'll say this: anybody that's played football, at least probably from high school on up, and has gone through high school football, gone through college football, and now is in the NFL, has had probably multiple concussions before they ever reach the NFL. Now, whether they were documented, whether they were pulled out of the game, is a whole different matter. But I can almost guarantee you that like some high school team or guys in high school were getting concussions and probably still went out there and played because there's not quite as much of scrutiny on that when it comes to the high school games. So I'm not saying that it's not something we should be worried about or should be concerned about with AJ Terrell. I do agree. He's had a few of them now in his time with the Falcons. But I think because of the way that they do things nowadays with the concussion protocol and not waiting until a guy has a situation like Devontae Freeman. Devontae Freeman was getting those concussions before the concussion protocol stuff, I think. So he would get knocked out, come out for the game, come back the next week, and just keep playing. And, you rack them up like that without enough like rest time in between. So, the way things are done today might help guys escape the fate that Devontae Freeman basically ran himself into, which was, I'm just going to run my head into everything until nobody will pay me in the NFL anymore. And and that's kind of how he ran himself out of the league.
So, looks like most of his stuff has been hamstrings. 1 concussion in 2021. He was out week 3 with a concussion. And then now this one. So it looks like it's only been 2 in the NFL. I had some folks showing that, Jerry says I only remember 2. And then William says he had 2. So I just wanted to make sure that I should see if I could try to find, a couple different sites. One said 3 or one said 2 concussions, and so did another one. So I'm going to go with 2 concussions. But I'm wondering if he picked up any in like preseason, because I don't think they have to like fully document those or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, so on to some banners. Pretty much covered them. I had Rainy Day is what I had. I had one.
I think the not the next one down, but the one after that, I think we could go there.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this one for just a second. So you're now in like truly sole possession of first place in the NFC South. With the Saints losing to Detroit. And brief second, doesn't that make you feel a little bit better about your defense? Like if you want to sit here and say, oh, well, defense ain't played nobody in the 2 games since, coming back from the bye. They put up 28 against Detroit.
Yeah.
Lost 33-28.
Well, and the thing that I saw somebody say it earlier, like we're 10th overall in defense, right? Coming out of this week. But if you look at red zone defense, like percentage of touchdowns scored in the red zone, I think we're number 2.
Nice.
In the league.
Yeah.
Detroit's like 30th. So that's what why they were able to get into the red zone, and then against that defense in the red zone, they were able to score because they're just not as good in the red zone on defense as we were.
Right. No, yeah, we like Nielsen and Gray have put together like a master class as far as red zone defense goes. This has become a highly efficient bend but don't break. Yep. Like we'll give you 20 to 20. But once you get down in that, even in that high red zone, but once you start getting in that red zone, it's buckled down, So I think that's something I'm super glad to see. I love watching Jesse Bates have the freedom that he's had to be that post safety. Back there, patrolling he's up to 5 interceptions now.
Yeah, I think 6. I think he had his 5th one was last week, and I think it was 6 this week. I could be wrong though.
But it's either 5 or 6. Yeah. And it's either 5 or 6. I'm kind of with Huckle in a sense. He says the defense has proven that it can contend. We all know what the rest. But yeah, like the defense has been a breath of fresh air. I'd said for years that I would love to have a defense that can close out games. I mean, something you alluded to earlier, how many times have we given the ball back to the opposing offense up by, 2 or 3 or whatever, up by less than a touchdown, and they just let that offense, even if it's one, like I ain't gonna lie, y'all got to admit it too. When they put Trevor Siemian in the game, you're like, oh crap, here we go.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Oh crap, here we go.
So he comes in, and my immediate thought is like, oh, we're gonna lose to the Jets back, like 4th string quarterback here, and then his first pass is like 15, 16, 17 yards, just slick as snot, and I'm like, oh,
you start hanging your head. You're like, oh great. But so either way, the fact that they still held them, scoreless, touchdownless, held them to field goals only. And as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they shut them out in the second half? I
don't even think I think both teams didn't score anymore after the 3rd quarter, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see. Yeah, after the 3rd quarter. Yeah, everybody was shut out in the 4th. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Because it was 3rd quarter. And early in that first drive, they got in field goal range. And that's what I was thinking. They pretty much shut them out in the second half. They had the opening drive, and then that was it.
Yeah.
William Amy's hooking us up. He says, Jesse Bates III's got 5 interceptions. That's what I thought. I thought it was 5. But MJ says, I'm scared to lose Ryan Nielsen. Thankfully enough, and I hate to say it like this, generally speaking, hot defensive coordinators take a longer time to become head coaches.
Well, because of the whole reason why we wanted an offensive guy this time around was if you can hit on the hot offensive guy, then he's your offensive coordinator. You don't have to worry about losing that offensive coordinator to another team, right? You can, defensive coordinators come and go. But your offensive coordinator is the guy you don't want to lose, especially in today's NFL. Right. But yeah, I agree. Defensive guys a lot of times do take longer. And you also find that a lot of defensive coordinators end up staying defensive coordinators for quite a long time just because they want to.
Right.
Yeah.
And especially right now you have like a coin flip in a sense. You have Brandon Staley with the Chargers. He was a hot defensive name, came in with what is supposed to be, an elite level quarterback. And that's looked like a dumpster fire pretty much all year. They won on Sunday, but they only scored 6 points.
like how you only score 6 points with that offense. I'm like, you want to talk about being disappointed in a win. Like that team with the weapons they've got, with the quarterback they've got against a really bad New England team right now. Their defense is good, but like you should have the weapons on that team to score at least 17 to 20 points against that defense.
You would think, and so that's one of the, that's something to think about. Now you have D'Amico Ryans down there in Texas, but it's his offense that's like the firecracker with, they hit on CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
So, anyway, yeah. So,
and if they continue to hit with CJ Stroud and that just gets better and better and better, that offensive coordinator is going to get
Ben Slow. He's already like a hot name. Like right now in this coaching cycle coming up, there's like, theoretically 9 to 12 jobs that are going to be open, with 2 of them already open, with Carolina and the Raiders.
The Raiders.
Yeah. Right. The Raiders, like names that are already being touted as like the hot picks are, Ben Johnson and Slowick down there. I can't remember Slowick's first name. Anyway, the OC for the Texans. And so, they're going to poach somebody off of Miami's offense. And somebody else will probably get
Bobby
Slowick. That's it. It was Bobby Slowick and Ben Johnson are the 2 like hot names that everybody's going to be vying for. So it'll be interesting to see. Like I said, that's why I'm really hoping that, we can grab another mind, another voice, to add to the room. Like, especially somebody, if it is a, if everybody at the Chargers gets, crap canned, maybe you can add, I don't want him running the offense, but maybe you can add a Kellen Moore to the staff, somebody to help bring some different passing concepts and bring a different, thought process. Everybody keeps saying this, might be our future head coach. Talking about Nielsen, considering like his ties with Terry. Maybe, I don't know. Like I said, I just don't. There's a lot, like we as fans are frustrated with Arthur Smith, but I think as far as in the building, I think he runs a well organized machine in a sense. Yeah. There's just got to be better output. That's all there is to it. Out of your Falcon mind says, yeah, JR, doing these all 22 reviews, passing coordinator has to be the top of the list. I think so. Like I'll say this, if they don't make any kind of addition and we run it back kind of thing, and we're still talking this way next year, like even if it's 4 or 5 games in, I will be very worried. Because I still think that there is areas of growth, that you could see from the offense, whether it's with a new signal or like with a new QB, or if Ritter takes a step forward. So we'll see how all that pans out.
I got one here. Mr. Butts is like, the only reason we don't score is because Arthur runs the ball entirely too much. I'm going to say, like, the problem I have sometimes is like we're running it and we're just rolling through them, and then he pulls out a pass play and it's like, just keep going until they stop you. Like keep doing like the good teams that you're going to see out there. I mean, I'm telling you right now, if in now maybe Kyle Shanahan does get a wild hair from time to time on it, but by and large, if he does something and it works, and he does something again and it works, like he's going to keep doing, he's going to keep hitting your weakness, whatever that is, until you show you can stop it. Like they're going to continue to attack.
Unless of course it's a big game, and then he's got to prove that he's got the biggest brain in the room. So, all right, I need your thoughts on this one, Toby. DeMarcus says, "Give me Belichick, please." Toby, come on. What?
You know what? I'm not even gonna talk about a coach right now because Arthur Smith is finding a way to win, and that's all that matters. Because I mean, we go out and get Belichick. What that's gonna do for us?
Like, what is Belichick doing right now for the Patriots?
Not a doggone thing.
And he has all the control.
Right.
Yep.
That's the part that makes me laugh. I've seen reports of like the Chargers trading for Belichick or something. I'm like, right now, legitimately, what do you think Belichick's going to do for your team?
I mean, you want to talk about QB carousel, QB limbo, whatever you want to call it. Like they're having like 3 seasons worth of that in this season.
Right.
Like
that's what I'm saying. Like every other drive,
and bring guys off the benches.
No, I'm good on the whole Belichick dealio.
He's weirdly he's playing it like a college coach.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. There's too many times where again, a lot of these guys have to like they think they obviously to get where they are, they feel like they're the smartest one in the room. And sometimes that ego, as we talk about even with our own head coach, sometimes can feel like it gets in the way. And I think the last few years when, Brady left, it was like, all right, I'm going to prove that it was me, not Brady. And unfortunately right now he's done everything but prove that it was, him, not Brady.
Yeah.
You have to have a good combination. That's why we're at week 13 and I still keep talking about, possibly whether Ritter's going to be the signal caller or not. And the reason why I say that is because up until about the last 2 games, Jordan Love is finally starting to look like his first round capabilities.
Yeah.
And he was in that system for 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, all of this takes time. Us, unfortunately, as fans, are extremely impatient. What do you?
An example of that is Mr. Drew Dahlman showing out.
Are you trying to?
Yeah. I remember right as the offseason finished, it might have been a couple weeks after the season finished, and you had the press conferences, and you started seeing different interviews come out with various parts of the coaching staff at the time, and they were saying some different things. And one of the guys that came out, it kind of came up just like not even really provoked, was Drew Dahlman. Like they really liked his progression from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. And so when it came up and everybody was like, we got to get a new center. We got to go out and get Ben Jones. We got to go out and get this free agent. We got to go out and do this. And I was like, I don't think that's going to happen because I think they really like Dahlman, and the biggest knock against him coming into the season was the guy was, he wasn't like the best blocker last year, but he got better and better as the season went along. But the thing that really bothered a lot of people was the snapping. And he still had some this year, but he's dialed that back considerably compared to last year, and has just, again, gotten better and better to where, and how much weight you want to put into it or not, but he's now PFF's second best overall center in the league. So, but if we'd listened to everybody and their mother that was saying like, we need a new center, this guy never gets a chance to show that. And we just have to have patience with some of these guys as they grow into their roles, as they grow into the league and get better and better just by the reps, just by playing the game more.
This day and age, like the NFL in itself is not for long. It's a, what have you done for me lately? It's a, but it's gotten even more so. I think Blizz missed your monologue there, bud.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, but I think that we have become even more so that, and it has a lot to do with, owners themselves wanting instant gratification. You see owners firing coaches 12 games into a season when you know you got a bad roster.
Yeah.
You know, and you know that you like are building, but yet you think that this guy isn't the guy. And I'm not saying that they're wrong for it, but I ask any of y'all, especially if any of y'all who have been on a job for more than 5 years, like, how long did it really take you to get as good as you are now? Like, I can legitimately, and this is without sarcasm, I've been doing what I do now for the company I work for. This year makes the 20th year I've been doing what I do now, right? So I've been doing it for 20 years. The first 3 years, there's probably 4 or 5 times they probably should have and could have fired me without me going, yeah, I earned that one. But they didn't, they stuck with me, and, because they saw the good qualities that I had and was able to overlook the mistakes that I was making and gave me time and a chance to correct them. Every year with this coaching staff that we have here, they've had to, for various reasons, reinvent their offense to suit the roster that they had. They had to do it again this year from, Mariota and, whoever last year to Ritter and whoever this year. You had to adjust it. So, like, part of me wants to see, all right, you got a full season under you. You've made your mistakes. You've come back from adversity. Can you take a step forward? But then there's also that's one side of my brain. Then there's another side of my brain that's like, yeah, but this is a pretty decent QB class. I'm not saying there's never going to be another one, because there's this one. And a few years ago, that was the QB class to end all QB classes. And guess what? We got another one. But, like, there's a chance that at sitting at 19, you might be able to grab Jaden Daniels out of LSU. And that kid's been fun to watch.
Yeah.
And to me, he's a type of quarterback that fits some of the things that Arthur likes to do. He's really good at the deep ball. Like, he's number one in 20 plus yards in all of college football.
Like 22 touchdowns, no interceptions, I think.
Yeah. It's something, it's ridiculous. And, like, he's deadly accurate, moves real well. So, like, to me, it was Fred, a good buddy Fred. Let me see if I can find it. He was saying that if we win the NFC South and we, make a good showing in the playoffs, that Ritter would be the starter next year. And you're probably right. But it's hard for me to go, man, there's a guy who in college does the things well that you're looking for.
Yep.
So
now, do you want to get? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut anybody off, but like, do you want to get stuck in a Giants position where you had the same situation happen last year? Daniel Jones gets you to the playoffs, you win a game, you look pretty good in the playoffs just in general, and then they're like, all right, he's our guy, we'll pay him $40 million a year, and then you come back the next year and you're like, what happened? So I get it, and you don't want to be that, but again, I would find it really hard to, because again, just like what you said a minute ago, it's like, well, you got Jaden Daniels in this class and blah, 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 a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It's like, but this is the one. Yeah,
right. And
because you will see another one like this for a decade.
And 3 years later you have one. I'm not getting into that hyperbole.
Yeah.
But unless you're absolutely 100, and this is the conversation, regardless of how the season ends, we got 5 more games or whatever it is. Like, regardless of how the season ends, this is the conversation that we're going to have is, unless Ritter just goes off against Tampa and Carolina and New Orleans and the Colts, you know what I'm saying? Unless it just absolutely goes off, these are the questions that we're going to be sitting here talking about. Toby, were you going to say something?
I was going to say this. I mean, the Falcons have an identity now. We saw it. We're seeing it trend this way. If the defense continues to do what it's doing, you don't have to have a superstar quarterback to lead the team. You just need someone that don't mess it up. And so if Ritter can continue, if he can trend in the direction of not turning the ball over as much as he was at the beginning of the season all the way up to this point, okay, then you have a shot where Ritter, if he can show these next 5 games that as long as he's not messing it up and he's actually benefiting, getting the scores when they need to score, then there's a good chance he can still be the quarterback when it comes to 2024. Because your defense now, Ryan Nielsen, what a great pickup, okay? Terry Fontenot knows this defensive scheme because he was over there in New Orleans for so long with Dennis Allen. And even before that, a lot of the stuff Dennis Allen them do, they carried over from Rob Ryan's defense, okay, when Dennis Allen took it over. So they know these schemes well, and they get the players to fit the schemes well, and they got the defensive coordinator. So as long as they have that, I think they'll be fine as far as the quarterback goes, as long as Ritter can show that, hey, I can stop the turnovers and I can actually run this team the way y'all need to run it on offense. We might not be pretty when we score. I mean, we might not be pretty when it comes to scoring a lot of points, but we need to? I don't think so. As long as the defense keep doing what they're doing, we should be fine. Score more than the other team scores and the defense holds, you got something working.
I'll say this, if you're going to, like, okay, we don't begrudge 49ers for being a run heavy team with a guy like Brock Purdy because they do it real well, right? And you're like, and so, but it took them really getting Deebo Samuel going. It really went off when they traded for Christian McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
You can make all the jokes that you want to, talking about like, Arthur Smith ain't never developed nobody or whatever, or what have you. But for as great as their run game is, they ain't never drafted a quarterback or a running back that they've kept. They just released another one, a 3rd round running back today. And so I get it. There's a lot of ways to get there. There's a lot of ways to win. Winning and being consistent about it will solve a lot of the issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and there's no lie there. I think that what I'll probably, my biggest harp will just be like, I hope that they add to like a voice to the room, somebody to maybe bring some different like passing concepts to the table, whether it's a Kellen Moore, whether it's a Ken Dorsey, whether it's a Pep Hamilton. If you're going to ride with Ritter or even draft a QB, I've been pounding the table for, Pep Hamilton needs to be your first call. If you're going to draft another rookie QB, then you need to get somebody like that in, who can help develop them. But the identity on the offensive side of the ball is that physical, we're going to mash you. And you're going to do it with Robinson and Algier and, at least for probably another year, Cordell Patterson. He looked a little slower up in New York, didn't he?
Mm.
He didn't look to have that same burst that he did against New Orleans, did he?
I don't blame him with them wet grounds.
Oh, yeah. No. He looked like he had an extra shirt on, too.
Man, it was like when he fumbled that ball, it's like, oh my God.
But hey, at least he was smart enough to smack the crap out of it out of bounds. So, yep. But yeah, I think that, adding a different wide receiver to go with, because I don't think Mac Hollins has been great or been nice, but he hasn't given you the stretching that you wanted. Cordell Hodge hasn't either. Maybe this is the year that we can finally add some, a little bit of vertical speed that might be more consistent than Scotty Miller. But I'm with you. Keep building the defense at this junction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just keep building the team.
Mm-hmm.
Offense, keep adding weapons, keep adding pieces, keep doing all those things. so that regardless of whether it's Ritter, whether you decide to go with Ritter, whether you're able to pick up and or go with a guy, whether it's Jay Daniels, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, whoever, whatever quarterback this team feels like is the guy coming out of this draft, or if they try to give up a bunch of future picks and go up and get a Drake May or Caleb Williams, whichever the case may be, you build the team around them so that it doesn't matter who your quarterback is. Your team is ready to go, and your quarterback doesn't have to do the heavy lifting to make the team go, right? All you got to do is be like Brock Purdy, is doing really, really good because he's got some just absolute horses out there that.
Oh yeah,
you throw a 5-yard little in route or 5-yard drag route across the middle, and those guys are going for 20, 25 yards a pop. And so he's throwing for probably in air yards in a game. He's probably throwing for like 100 yards, but he gets 350 or something like that because of all the yak.
Right. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to see if I could quickly pull up. Okay. Air yards per attempt. Yeah. Let's see. Well, according to 49ers Web Zone, the trusted guys at 49ers Web Zone, says that as far as passes traveled before being caught by the receiver, Brock Purdy's actually leading the league in 5.4 yards in the air before it's caught. The next one is CJ Stroud. So, for what that's worth.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's see. All right. Time will tell whether it will be, Ritter going forward, whether we're talking about playoffs. But I will say this, you start actually winning, consistently winning some games. If you put the elusive third win is what I'm looking for right now. That Toby keeps pointing out. The elusive third win, right? You got Tampa Bay coming into your building. You went down to their building and won.
Yep.
And that was one of, other than the red zone turnovers, that was one of the better offensive games that you actually had. So,
yeah, we don't have those turnovers. We probably
blow them out of the water.
By at least 2 scores.
Right. Yeah. So, you're back in the friendly confines, in a dry building. So, can you get the offense going, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got some stuff going with Kyle Pitts. Can we have a day where you get Kyle Pitts has a good day, Drake London has a good day, and Bijan Robinson has a good day?
Possible.
No, it is scientifically impossible. It can't happen.
Scientifically impossible.
Look, I'll say this: get me them 3 wins, then we talking about something.
Right.
Because this will be your first time
as
head coach with 3 wins in a row.
That's kind of what I'm looking at right now. Can you get that third win in a row? Can you really start separating yourself from the rest of the NFC South?
Mm-hmm.
Can you get towards the end of the season and we not be fighting, if this happens or if this happens?
Right.
Can you keep improving?
Right now, we hold our destiny in our hands.
Right.
Yep.
If we keep winning, then nothing, nobody can catch us.
Nope.
Right.
So we don't need help from anybody right now. We don't need anybody. We don't need some other team to lose. We don't need anything. We don't. If the season were to end right now, we don't even have to rely on tiebreakers. We're all alone first place. So yeah, I would love to see us stretch out the lead. And maybe somehow the Panthers end up beating the Saints. I don't think that's going to happen. I saw somebody earlier saying the Panthers are going to get better. We got to get better. I'm like, what in the world have you seen?
Yeah, what gives you the idea right now that the Panthers are going to get better? I mean maybe eventually, but
they could.
I like what Ryan says here. He says, "Who cares? Everyone has a good game. Just play as a team and win the game."
Yeah, win the game.
Beg, borrow, steal, whatever you
got.
That's
like I said earlier, this ain't college football. You could you ain't got to go undefeated and win your conference and still hope to get in.
Yeah.
So
maybe the ACC should have thought about that when they decided to block that 12-team playoff.
I'll put it to you like this. They know, the college football committee knows that next year they don't have to answer these questions.
Mm-hmm.
So this year they said, hey, what's going to get us the most money and the most ratings? It wasn't FSU. It was Alabama. What they want is a rematch between Alabama and Texas. That's what they want.
Well, they might get it.
And they might. But to me, like, as an outsider looking in who doesn't necessarily have a dog in the fight, I watch college just because I can watch emotionless football in a sense and just enjoy good football, right? That's what it looks like as a outsider looking in, is which one gives us the most money, gets us the best ratings. And that answer, like, they couldn't not put Washington and Michigan in. And they were hoping beyond all hope that Florida was going to lose. Because that would have made it even easier.
Mm-hmm.
And as far before the dog fans get going, all y'all had to do was win.
Yeah.
Like, you can't leave it in the hands of the ref. We always say that even with our own team. Like, they're going to blow calls every week. So you can't leave it in the hands of the ref. So if you'd have done your job, you'd have been there. No questions asked. They couldn't have kept you out either.
Mm-hmm.
Though you are hearing apparently some coaches now are going back to the league and be like, hey, you need to going to their owners and be like, look, y'all got to do something about this officiating. This is rough. Yep. I mean, they called a 50, like, they called it unnecessary roughness, basically saying, like, well, he was about to go out of bounds. It's about the hit on Mahomes.
Yeah.
Like, he was about to go out of bounds.
Right.
So you should have just let him get out of bounds. You didn't have to hit him so hard, man. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but you don't lose. You don't leave it in the hands of the refs, right?
No, yeah.
So as far as, but that's my big gripe with this whole deal is, saying that just because they've lost their starting quarterback is the reason to keep them out is crap to me. As an outsider looking in, I know that if you're a fan of any of the 4 teams that made it, you have a different opinion.
Yeah.
So, all right, I think that's gonna do it for us. What do y'all think?
Hey, man. All I got to say to my dog nation, 2-time back-to-back champions, don't worry about nothing else. We'll be back.
That's it. Look,
we'll be back.
Next year, y'all be in.
Yeah,
like, straight up. Like, as long as y'all do what you did, you basically go undefeated.
Yeah.
If it's the same scenario this year and it's 12 teams, me and a coworker look down it, right? By the time you got to team 13 in their rankings, that was the first team that had 3 losses. You see what I'm saying? Like, a 3-loss team, you can easily look at it and go, look, dog, we appreciate you. Do a little bit better next year and you can get in. Ain't nobody really going to argue about a 3-loss team.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where you start to argue is when you start splitting hairs about, oh, well, this team beat this team, but not that team, but they had this record, but they don't play in this conference and all that other. Like, you get to 12 teams, you better at not having to have the eye test BS.
Fred Butts is like, you don't leave out the champions. Like,
I completely agree.
I agree, but here's the problem: you only have 4 teams. You got 5. Well, you had 5. You had 5 Power 5 conferences, so you were going to have 5 winners of those conferences, and one of those winners was, at bare minimum, one of those winners was going to be left out every single year.
And in this year, it should have been Bama. And the reason why I say that is because if you automatically you won your conference and you didn't lose, you take that and say that that's your, like, automatic bid. Now you look at, okay, you got 3 1-loss teams in the top 10 or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Texas beat Alabama. Alabama beat Georgia. Who goes in out of those 3? Texas. That should have been your 4. And you should have, and anybody who wanted to gripe and complain and moan after that, you look at them and go, if you'd won your conference and been undefeated, you automatically would have been in. But like I said, we want ratings, we want money, we want storylines.
I mean, I think once we get to this 12 team playoff, and you give, I'm not saying it's going to happen every year, but there's going to be years where some 12th ranked team that nobody expects to do anything in the playoffs, you're going to get closer to having the March Madness kind of feel where you'll have a Cinderella story.
I'm excited about it. In that I might actually pay a little bit more attention to college because of that. But anyway, thank y'all for joining our College Minute as we have tried to fix the problems of the college football playoff system. We appreciate y'all joining us tonight. As always, y'all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grimm1128, GRIMM1128. Jonathan.
At Jonathan M. Holder. Come by, say hi.
Toby D.
1991.
There it is. Let's hopefully on Tuesday we'll be talking about a third win.
Let's go.
Right?
That's the hope.
That's it. All right, folks. Appreciate y'all. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.
Rise up.